Pastor Julian here with Central's Devotion for today. I hope you're doing well. Back when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I used to work for the Department of Public Works in Sea Isle City, New Jersey, on trash and recycling trucks. We had the different trucks would be the glass trucks, which would include glass, cans, plastic, bottles, and they would collect those from all different stops. We had a paper truck. There'd be 2 paper trucks go around on different routes collecting all the newspapers and cardboard. And we'd have trash trucks, and it'd be 3 trash trucks running routes every day. And so the hardest of all of these trucks to work on were the trash trucks. And out of the trash trucks, some trash trucks were easier than others depending on the route. There was always one truck that had the hardest route. And Mike Ty, this guy named Mike Ty, would always be driving that route. And he was a physically fit guy, and he would always choose the most physically fit guys, strongest guys to work on that truck. And I remember the first time that I was asked by Mike to work on the truck, the drivers always chose who worked on their truck. And he came to me one day and he said, I want you on my truck today. And I said, you should choose somebody else. I'm not as physically fit as some of these other guys. I have asthma, breathing problems. I probably won't fare super well on your truck. He said, no, you'll do fine. Get on my truck. I think you're going to do great. And as insecure as I felt, as many reservations I felt, I said, okay, let's do this. Did really well on the truck. And I think we might have set a record for how much trash our truck took in, because we would always weigh it when we went to the landfill. It was well over 20 tons of trash. And he came to me and said, see, you did great. I'm going to have you on my truck more often. And I said, that's fine. I'll do it. I'm glad to do it. It was hard, but I know I can now. We often feel insecure about ourselves because maybe we aren't as strong as other people. Our faith might not seem as strong as other people's faith. We might not be able to say things quite like others. And we're in good company because Moses had this problem. And the Bible tells us about Moses, who God approached in the form of a burning bush, and he chose Moses to be his prophet, the messenger, and deliverer of his people who were enslaved by the Egyptians. God sent Moses to bring this message of deliverance to his fellow Hebrew people. And he was very insecure about this. God wanted him to speak to the leaders of the Hebrews and the Hebrew people and explain to them what God was going to do and how he was going to deliver them, and to speak to Pharaoh himself and tell him he needed to let his people go. Moses said, well, they're not going to listen to me. And so God said, no, you know what? I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you some signs, a way to perform some miracles. And he had Moses put his staff down on the ground, turned into a snake. And then he had, when Moses picked that snake up by the tail, it turned back into a staff. Wow, I can turn my staff into a serpent. Then he said, stick your hand in your cloak, and then pulled it out. And he said, and his hand had leprosy. And so God gave him this other incredible miracle to do. And then he put his hand back into his cloak, pulled it out, didn't have leprosy on his hand anymore. And God said, if they don't listen to you after doing those things, go down to the river, pull out some water, and pour it on the ground in front of them. And before their eyes, that water will turn into blood. So God gave Moses these incredible things to give him confidence that the people will listen to him. And yet, Moses responded to that by saying this in Exodus chapter 4, verses 10 through 13. But Moses said to the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you've spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and tongue. And the Lord said to him, who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak. But he said, O my Lord, please send someone else. Moses. Here, even God is trying to convince him, I'm choosing you, and I'm in control of your mouth. I will control your mouth and go before you. And yet Moses lacks confidence, even knowing that the Lord is there. You know, we have this problem where we are not confident in ourselves, even when God calls us to do something or to say something or to stand up for something. We often lack self-confidence and courage. And I want to encourage you, because I know for myself, I wish I could say that God hasn't compelled me to do something. I know that in the past, God has compelled me to speak to someone, to do something, and in my mind I said, choose someone else, Lord. Can you choose someone else? I'm not going to do this. And I didn't follow through on what God's called me to do. But then there are other times where I have. And it's in those moments that I could see God working through me in ways that I didn't know that God could use me. And he will use you. God is calling you and he is choosing you to do something. And you need to keep your ears open and your eyes open to what that is. And you need to respond to him by saying, yes, Lord, I will go. If you go with me, use my mouth. Give me the courage that I need and the confidence that I need in you. See, it's the way that we perceive ourselves is important. You need to understand that you will always be dependent on God. We need to be dependent on God. But we have power through God to do all the things that he's called us to do. And he wants to empower you. And he wants to use you to further his kingdom for his glory. So I want to encourage you to get out of that mindset of insecurity and be empowered knowing that God is going to use you and can use you for his glory and mighty ways, just like he did Moses. God bless you and have a great day.